Okay, good afternoon. This is Bill Candick, County Commissioner, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners for Custer County. Today is Tuesday, September the 30th, 2025. The time is now 1:16. And this is a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners today. And silence your phones if you haven't already. And please, I'll call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, Paul, you got
I've got the invocation, yes. Please bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today to conduct another official business of our wonderful county. We ask that you watch over us and help us make the managerial decisions that are needed. We ask for your guidance, blessing, not only for today, but every day forthcoming. We do this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Paul. Roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda?
Here.
Commissioner Epp?
Present.
Commissioner Vogelsong?
Here.
County Attorney Dan Slater?
Here.
BOCC Admin Caitlin Womack? Here. And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Okay, sounds like everybody's here. Got any amendments?
Yes, we just need to add the resolution number 2537 to the funds initiation of U.S. Forest Service Title III build.
Okay.
Say the number again.
25-37.
Oh, the one we got.
Yeah, 25. It's just not in the minute or in the agenda.
That's good. We're considering it. It didn't need to be on the printed, but we know that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, this is a special meeting to discuss and initiate the TILT funds. So that's been done. No unfinished business. And the new business, we will allow comment, but not debate on this. And so with that, let's look at the first thing first, and that would be the approval of the 2024 audit.
I'll just make a motion to approve the 2024 audit.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
So we went through the audit last week, Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Sam DiNardo of Garen Ross and DiNardo came up and presented the audit to us. It had to be filed by today, and it is filed, so.
Yeah, it went very well, just another comment, and there weren't any no bad findings. It was excellent from my point of view.
Yeah.
Not that there weren't issues, but
Yeah.
Things that we
Hiccups,
always
a
improve.
few hiccups.
Okay, any other discussion?
But on.
Okay, all in favor of approving what, you got somebody online?
Public comment.
Public.
Here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You gotta remember, there's a difference between a yawn and a stretch and a request.
Well, no, you did, I was just saying you did need to offer that.
I should have,
Yeah.
Okay.
that was my fault.
I'll keep it.
All right, all in favor of approving the 2024 budget, say aye. Paul?
Aye.
Luke?
Lucas, aye.
Kanda, aye. Okay, now down to the meat.
The knit and grit.
This would be for the funds initiation and to pass the resolution or approve the resolution for 2537, which is a resolution initiating a project for studying wildfire evacuation routes within Custer County in conjunction with potential wildfires impacting United States Forest Service lands, utilizing funds appropriated from Title III of the federal, quote, Secure Rural Schools, quote, Act.
Right.
So for discussion's sake, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2537.
I'll second it.
Okay, then moved and seconded. A discussion. Do you want to say anything up front here?
Yeah, I would like to know, under the allowable uses section of Title III, how you find that this is an allowable use, because my interpretation is that it is not.
Good
So
question, good
an
discussion.
allowable use would be to develop and carry out a wildfire protection plan.
This is not a wildfire protection plan. This is
It's
something very specifically different.
It's part of
It's
the
a
wildfire
portion,
protection
it's
plan.
part of developing a wildfire protection plan. Evacuation routes would necessarily be part of, I'm assuming, developing a wildfire protection
It
plan.
is.
This is Robin Knappy, Emergency Management Director.
Let's,
And-
hold on, let's
Okay.
say your name first, I know you didn't get that.
Cindy Howard, former county emergency manager and operations and communications specialist for Fire Adaptive Colorado.
Okay, good, now,
Robin Knappy, Emergency Management Director for Custer County. A community wildfire protection plan can have an annex that would address evacuation. An emergency operations plan could have an annex to address evacuation planning. But to be clear, we don't have a community wildfire protection plan at this time.
We have a 2007
yeah, no,
county plan
hasn't been updated.
that has not been updated, and is considered expired at the 10-year mark.
Which is when,
Hazard mitigation plan says that countywide plan would be updated by 2024. In the past year, I haven't heard any updates on the core planning team, the meetings, and what's going on. And so I think it's a real stretch. I would not assume, Dan, that it meets the requirement, and I don't think there's a good return on investment on investing $48,000 into a traffic study in one of the lowest per capita communities or counties in Colorado. We are not Evergreen or Bailey or Conifer or Colorado Springs. And when you look at the law that the state legislature passed in 2023 for modeling on evacuation routes, it's House Bill 23-1075, wildfire evacuation and clearance time modeling. They then passed a bill in 24 to allocate a few grants to study it further. And I don't know what select counties got those grants, but right now that is being managed at the Colorado Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management to even figure out whether that's something that's really going to serve a purpose. You know, we don't have a lot of those constriction points to look at in the county.
start your time.
As a county, we don't even have the authority, a county sheriff, to evacuate federal lands. That would be within the Forest Service jurisdiction to do those. And so I just, you know, I really think we're putting the cart before the horse to say, we're not even there with a community wildfire protection plan, but we're gonna pay somebody $48,000 to do a traffic study. The 23 bill is really around developers. If we were to have a developer come before the county and say, you know, we're gonna change the 80 acres on the valley floor and we're gonna develop the heck out of it, then I would hope that part of your subdivision planning would mandate that traffic study. But I don't see that it's a real critical need in a CWPP, especially when, you know, we're well past the core parts of having a CWPP developed and getting to those public meetings and actually getting that CWPP out and updated. I also would add that I'm not sure that there's a lot of political will with this Board of County Commissioners to have a CWPP, to do mitigation, or to really, you know, that you really want to be proactive in this county. So, like, you know, if you're, for example, there's an unfunded mandate, the building codes are now going to be enforced. Well, if we were building our homes and we were focused on the 100-foot HIZ, would we be as concerned about evacuation and those congestion points if we were building to where we aren't gonna be as concerned about the life safety. And I also think on the evacuation side, we have a lot of bigger concerns about, are people signing up? We know these voluntary evacuations like Everbridge are not getting people to sign up at the rates we need them. We know they're not effective. We know that there's choke points just getting those messages out to our regional.
You got another minute.
Okay.
I'm getting you.
You know, well, I think there are bigger issues, so I guess what I'm asking for as part of why we need to allocate this funds to be spent in this manner is, where are we at with our CWPP, with our big plan, with our evacuation plan, with what the sheriff's doing? A little disappointed not to see the sheriff or other partners here today. And we'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Go ahead.
Just
Dan.
a couple, well, a few points. One, as to the sheriff not being here, it's my understanding that there was an emergency situation that occurred minutes ago that I think everyone understands why he wouldn't be here, if that's the case. We're not, I don't think the county's talking about evacuation of federal lands. We're talking about evacuation of residents in relation to a fire that involves federal lands. Those are
Or
two
our
very-
own land.
Very different things.
It may involve.
Yes, yeah. Furthermore, again, I think that this clearly falls under the statutory language that it's related to developing a community wildfire protection plan, even if we don't have one in place now. It would be even more important in terms of developing that plan. That doesn't mean that the plan would consist only of whatever comes out of this evacuation study. This is the recommendation from both the county sheriff and the OEM director. And finally, I would also indicate that this resolution is broad enough that even though that's our focus, if for whatever reason it's determined that this money can't be spent on these things, it authorizes the initiation of any other project that assists in developing and carrying out the community wildfire protection plan, as well as further firewise mitigation efforts in the county and all other efforts consistent with the use of Title III funds under federal law, which in reading the documentation, in particular from, I believe it's the OPM study they did on Title III funds, quite frankly, the ability to use these funds is both broad and perhaps sadly not particularly well monitored by the United States Forest Service. So I think as long as we're following within the reasonable interpretation of this statute, the county's fine.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Any other public comment? We're gonna do some more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
John Van Doren, West Cliff. I am on the Community Wildfire Protection Planning team. I don't know why you're not on it, but there has been quite a bit of progress.
Can be asked.
And this, there was a previous meeting that Cindy also missed. It was an actual board meeting and presentation by Ladris of their capabilities regarding evacuation planning. It is not just a traffic study. In the past, that's about all you got from software directed at these kinds of things. But it's a modeling, it's modeling software that actually models scenarios. In other words, you can say, if we have a fire started here, if we have two fires starting at the same time, if we have 15-mile-an-hour winds, if we have 50-mile-an-hour winds, what happens and how does that affect the movement of vehicles on the ground? What the information, why the information is so valuable is you basically do these tabletop scenarios with using the software. And it gives the sheriff actionable data based on these various scenarios of when to trigger a pre-evacuation alert, when to trigger a mandatory evacuation alert, It also gives the sheriff's office, based on these various scenarios, the information they need to game out how to deploy their resources during an evacuation. So the sheriff will take this information and create their own evacuation plan based on the scenarios, which includes gaming out how to deploy their resources to manage that evacuation, which includes mutual aid resources that may or may not be available depending on where the fire is. We've got here in the county, we've got decades of work to do to manage and mitigate our high vegetation loads, both in the national forest, but on private lands too. So my point of view is the very first thing you need to do is understand what your evacuation challenges are, because it's a life-saving document. It's a life-saving exercise that you go through. The other thing that we'll be able to identify is where do we prioritize the actual mitigation work that needs to be done in our evacuation road right-of-ways. That's absolutely critical. And again, in my mind, that's one of the first things that we need to do in terms of dealing with vegetation. We're going to have a fire. We're going to have a messy evacuation situation depending on where that fire is or those fires. And we are not prepared for that at all. So let's get this study done. Have the sheriff use the information that comes out of this study to create their own detailed evacuation plan in terms of deploying resources and triggering evacuation warnings, and also for the county, I don't know who's going to do this, but clearing that vegetation in those roadways is going to be absolutely critical if you have a fire and people are trying to get out, and
30 seconds.
and the roads are on fire. Done.
I didn't mean to cut you off. You got 30.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, John. Is there any other public comment? Who's online? Anybody?
No.
Okay.
Am
Okay.
I timed out? Or-
Yes.
Okay, so I
Major.
can't respond to,
No, it's not a debate.
no, I don't want to debate.
No. Lucas.
So I will apologize that we have dropped the ball on staying on top of Title III PILT, and my goal for next year or for the years upcoming is that this is settled down into a quarterly meeting where we discuss this separately from any other issue so that we stay on top of this, so we're not down to the day of having to initiate a project or 2-3 days before. We got ahead of it somewhat with search and rescue and their ask, but for the rest of it, we dropped behind. Moving forward, I'd like to, hey, as soon as we get the money that we're gonna get for the year, we decide what are we gonna do with it, or if this doesn't have to be spent for 3 years, do we continue to put the years together to go, we wanna do one big project, or we wanna do a bunch of little projects. This has been an ask from the sheriff and the CWPPs for as long as, well, as far as this year has gone. I think he's made those, that was his biggest concern that I think he relayed to you, John. I'm trying to support the sheriff in this ask to a certain degree to make him feel more comfortable with moving forward with his plans. But I do think, to your points, we need to come up with a better plan for our future PILT money. And we do need to meet more often on our CWPP, because that is a part of it. Even if we have the plan together, we need to talk about what we're gonna do and how we're gonna use this money, or what is our educating and encouraging of our citizens to come across and do this mitigation that we need them to do. Because it affects our bottom line. If we have a bunch of houses that burn, it's gonna affect our bottom line.
Tanglewood Acres fire, kind of. Put that-
Just in family services.
yeah. Okay, Paul?
John, I got one question for you. Does this also include livestock evacuation and stuff? Also, is there any way that by implementing both of these, that we would be able to look at some disaster funds coming toward us after the fact?
I can't answer the second part of that. I know in their modeling that they're able to make some estimates about how many trucks and horse trailers.
That was a big deal, I remember that in that version.
Yeah, and that first one about,
It talked about it,
right.
okay, on my comments, I also remember that meeting, it was a great meeting, and it did point out we do need that study done. I was 100% behind that, based on what it did and based on the fires that we've had and the things that I have seen. Lucas made a good point, the CWPP's been, was important. Butch Washington was the last guy that took a serious look at a lot of the studies and started that process, and I have, Robin has been in touch with him and trying to pick up some of the things now. And it has been whatever, there's no excuse, it's just the way it is. But I do understand the need, and I also agree with Dan. Even the old one hadn't expired yet, even though it should be, and it was supposed to be updated every 5 years, but it isn't. But it is a plan, and it still is, and whether we get it out and look at it and follow that, and then have this as an annex to it, have an evacuation route, is legit. It's a legit spend in my mind as well, from my point of view. And with that, did you have anything else, because you're the last?
Yes, Robin Knappy again from OEM, addressing what Lucas has talked about. We have a lot of folks who can think they know what direction we need to head. Because they're either concerned, or they're concerned about their neighborhood, they're concerned about their county, they're concerned about how we approach this mitigation and making our community safer. And so what I thought I would do is put together what we have so far on things that we could fund in the future. This is really a little bit more what.
We don't need to talk about that, but you can sure.
Just saying,
There
yeah.
are points.
There are other projects that need to be done, and the CWPP was, before my time, that was initiated and then put together. That was under city's tutelage.
She started.
And then we have had. We have 7 Was that, it wasn't still working under, you were working under the 2017 plan? No?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so anyway, we have had a fire council since about April of '23. That fire council has met with all the correct federal agencies to work towards the CWPP, but we haven't had the GIS support and other support to get that going. Brought John into the fold as we started the CWPP Fire Council again. So we have attempted this, but we need assistance. We need the data, we need the mapping, we need the ability to put all of this data together. So my concern is that if we do a standalone evacuation study or plan, that we make sure it gets integrated into those other plans.
That's your job. Okay, I, as the chairman, will take the last word. We are a poor county. We don't have a lot of money. We are not sure about the grants. We live on grants, that's for sure. Without it, we would not be able to serve the citizens, even the basic services. So, we don't know the status of this grant yet either, nor the EPT grant or a lot of the other federal stuff. However, I think it's important to plan, and I think this is based on the data that I got out of the studies that we have done, and the fact that we have more things to do now, lessons learned. I think it's a good thing. So unless there's any other comment on the online different, and nothing up here, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of passing resolution 25, adopting resolution 2537 as presented, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Vote aye.
Kanda, aye. So thanks, everybody, and thanks, Cindy, for bringing it up.
Do you have a public comment at the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Wanna
Yes,
make a
we do.
comment outside of this?
Wait, we're gonna get to it. Well, you said, we do have it, it's on the
Okay.
schedule. Okay, Kelly, you got everything?
Yep.
And any other comments?
No.
Any additional items of business?
None from me.
Okay. All right, public comment.
Public comment.
You're the
like-
public, and
my-
we're limiting to 5.
Okay, I have a public comment on the hazard mitigation plan and looking at crosswalking that with the CWPP plan. Originally, when Homeland Security brought out the hazard mitigation planning, they were doing them regionally. So Christy Coleman was involved in the first South Region mitigation plan. Then in 2017, I believe, we came out with, this was a grant that Christy Coleman did for the hazard mitigation plan. That was, the partners on that were Town of West Cliff, Town of Silver Cliff, and Custer County. All 3 had cost shares. Custer County did not foot the bill for that entire plan themselves. That was a $50,000 plan that sat on the shelf and collected dust. The only projects that were completed in that plan were projects that were already underway and were cited as projects.
How long ago was that?
That was the 2017 plan, so.
I know, but how long ago was it? Look before, after, has it ever been looked at?
It's a 5-year plan, so moving forward, I was gonna expand
Okay.
on. Then Butch came in, Meredith wrote a grant, so I know you were the only seated commissioner at the time when we had the next round
I
of the
remember it very
5-year
well.
grant. You didn't come to the meeting, I remember it very
No,
well
I
too.
remember that,
But-
I
but
remember it was
Meredith-
there very well.
So Meredith and I, at the time, what my point being that we had a conversation with DHSEM that the only reason to apply for a grant is if we wanted a FEMA-approved hazard mitigation grant. You can update that grant and not be FEMA-approved. So if you aren't planning on going after FEMA funding, there's no reason to approve that. But the grant got written under Meredith. Butch got the grant out, so it's probably in the ballpark of another $50,000. That hazard mitigation plan right now talks about 28 new CWPPs, 2 updates to existing CWPPs, and a countywide CWPP, which is over the top, unsustainable, and there's no capacity for that in Custer County. So I think as we move forward to the next 5 years of the hazard mitigation plan, if you're not seeking federal funding or the partners, one, I would expect that you have cost shares from the other agencies like Round Mountain, Wet Mountain, Silver Cliff, West Cliff, and the county, so you're not footing the bill for another $50,000 or $60,000 plan that sits on the shelf and collects dust. And then I would start looking at crosswalking these plans so that you're actually, you're talking a good story about going after grant fundings to do mitigations. I would argue we're 3 decades behind even where we should have been 3 decades ago. But if you're gonna come up with a plan, I would look seriously for committing more and more county funds and expecting the same results that we haven't gotten in the 30 years that I've been here, so, end of comment.
All right, any other comments? Okay, Cindy, if you, and I know you really care, if you do, go see her and get it, and come and talk, and if that's not being listened to for other reasons, it's important for you to make your point, because why would you want to sit back and say, I told you so? Stay involved, that's all I'm saying. If you.
Bill, I email and support, I've supported Butch, I've
Email
supported
doesn't
Robin, I've
always
supported
work.
John,
No.
I've been in contact with Lucas.
Emails
so-
get lost, I get buried, everybody gets buried, and emails are the last thing. That's a terrible way to communicate. But anyway,
May I make a comment?
you're
Short one?
not public. Well, you are now, you can be public.
So in the paper that I passed out to all of you, it does talk about the hazard mitigation plan that was approved by FEMA in 2023. That is a current FEMA approved plan. That's a 5-year plan, like everyone else has said. So we will be up for renewal of that plan in 2028, which you have to start that process in advance. So just to.
Keep us on our toes. Okay, any other public comments? You got anything out there? Okay, therefore I'll adjourn this meeting at 1:46. Thanks, everybody.